Back in 1961, Dwight D. Eisenhower, a war hero, five-star general, and sitting U.S. president, stepped away from office with one of the most haunting warnings ever delivered in American political history. His words weren't about an enemy across the ocean or a political rival at home. They were about something far closer, something that would grow silently until it wrapped itself around the very heart of democracy. He called it the military-industrial complex. We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
64 years later, his words feel less like a warning and more like prophecy. What Eisenhower described has now become a global empire, a system where wars are not just tragedies or matters of national security, but profitable ventures. A system where lobbying, contracts, and campaign donations dictate the flow of billions, while the human cost becomes a line item buried deep in a balance sheet. The question now is not whether Eisenhower was right. The question is whether the system has grown so powerful that dismantling it is no longer possible. War as business, and business is booming. Look at the numbers. Global military spending hit a record-breaking $2.44 trillion in 2023. Out of that staggering total, the United States alone accounted for $916 billion, nearly 40% of the world's military budget. That isn't just spending, that's market dominance. This money doesn't vanish into thin air. It flows straight into the vaults of corporate giants. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon Technologies, Boeing Defense, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman. These firms rely on government contracts for as much as 85% of their revenue. Their shareholders don't cheer for peace treaties. They cheer for defense budgets that grow year after year. The pattern is painfully clear. The longer the wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, and now Ukraine drag on, the higher the demand for drones, missiles, tanks, and surveillance systems. Lockheed Martin's stock surged 35% after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Wars that devastate millions of lives become golden tickets for investors, which raises the uncomfortable truth. When war is profitable, what real incentive is there for peace? The front line of influence, lobbying. Behind every ballooning defense budget is not just a military strategy, but an army of lobbyists. In 2023 alone, the U.S. defense sector poured $126 million into lobbying. More than 700 registered lobbyists went to work, many of them former Pentagon officials and ex-lawmakers who knew the system inside and out. Their mission is simple: keep the money flowing. That means securing favorable budgets, smoothing the export of weapons to foreign allies, and blocking any legislation that threatens to cut into profits. Campaign contributions provide the political cover. During the 2022 midterms, defense companies and executives funneled more than $30 million into political campaigns. Roughly 60% went to Republicans, 40% to Democrats, a perfectly calibrated balance ensuring bipartisan loyalty. It doesn't matter who holds power in Washington. The military-industrial complex always wins. Take Raytheon as an example. In 2021, CEO Greg Hayes told investors, "We are seeing opportunity in Eastern Europe and the Middle East." That same year, the company spent $14.3 million on lobbying. Not long after, conflicts in those exact regions escalated. Coincidence? Or evidence of a system that openly ties opportunity to instability? The revolving door, Pentagon to profit. One of the most corrosive features of this system is the so-called revolving door. Retired generals don't fade into obscurity. They land plush positions on the boards of defense giants. Between 2014 and 2019, nearly half of retiring 3- and 4-star U.S. generals moved into defense industry roles. The logic is obvious. A general who once influenced Pentagon budgets now sits at the table of a weapons manufacturer, using insider knowledge and networks to shape policy all over again. Decisions that should be made in the interest of national security blur into decisions made for shareholder gain. This isn't uniquely American. In France, in the UK, in India, it's the same pattern. Retired defense chiefs advise or consult for corporations that thrive on weapons sales. National interest and corporate profit become indistinguishable, and once the revolving door spins, it never stops. The globalization of the war economy, what Eisenhower warned America about, has now metastasized into a global business model. The US may dominate the market, but the appetite for weapons is global. France exported $5.3 billion worth of arms in 2023. China's defense budget crossed $224 billion. India, the world's largest arms importer, spent over $81 billion on defense. International arms expos, Defexpo India, IDEX UAE, Eurosatori France, resemble luxury car shows, except the products aren't Ferraris or Lamborghinis. They're fighter jets, missile systems, and autonomous drones. Deals worth billions are signed in glossy exhibition halls, while conflicts around the world guarantee steady customers. This is no longer a US problem. It's a worldwide market where war has been fully monetized. The human cost that doesn't show on balance sheets. All of this would be just another story of corporate influence if not for the staggering human toll. Since 2001, the so-called War on Terror has claimed nearly 900,000 lives directly. Another 38 million people have been displaced, forced to abandon homes and futures because of wars that double as business opportunities for defense contractors. And yet, in boardrooms and shareholder calls, these realities are abstract. They don't show up on quarterly reports. The metric that matters is profit. The casualties are someone else's problem. That disconnect between profit and cost is the beating heart of the military-industrial complex, and it is why the cycle continues unchallenged. Profits before peace. The military-industrial complex today is not some conspiracy whispered in back rooms. It is an open, measurable, institutionalized system. Its existence is undeniable. Its influence is vast. Lobbyists write legislation. Political donations buy loyalty. Retired generals become corporate strategists. Defense expos turn wars into marketplaces. And through it all, corporations thrive while human lives are reduced to collateral damage. Eisenhower warned about unwarranted influence. What we have today is influence so entrenched, it feels inevitable. The defense industry doesn't just react to war, it anticipates it, lobbies for it, and in some cases, sees it as an opportunity. Until governments enact serious transparency reforms and place hard limits on lobbying and campaign financing, this system will only expand. The profits of war will continue to flow, and peace, real, lasting peace, will remain the one product that the military-industrial complex has no incentive to sell. If Eisenhower could look at the $2.44 trillion spent on the global military machine today, if he could see corporations profiting while millions of civilians suffer, would he believe that America and the world he once defended had ignored his warning entirely? That is the uncomfortable question leaders refuse to answer, and perhaps the more important one: how long can a world where war is profitable ever hope to pursue peace?